Hey, what's up, everyone? So I got here with me the one and only Jalen Narciso, aka JJ Finesser.
First step in solving any problem is recognizing there is
I
one.
have a dream. While America's infrastructure,
We fought for moral reasons. We stood up for what was right.
this nation will rise up.
Welcome, Jalen. Thanks for making time, man.
Man, thank you for having me. It's so great being on here.
Yeah, man. So we've got to know each other pretty well over the past couple months here. And just before we jump in, I want to talk a lot about kind of what you've noticed since you've got TechnoTutor, since you've kind of re-looked at life purpose and everything you're already doing, as well as just in general chat. But before we jump in, just so the audience can know a little bit about you, let me make sure I have this right. You got the #1 song on the college radio charts right now, and you're also on syndicated radio, so iHeartRadio. So you got already a lot of influence in clouds. You were also just nominated for Artist of the Year, which is also phenomenal. And I would say equally as amazing as that, man, is just your past, which I'm sure we'll get into, of overcoming substance abuse, just the ups and downs through life, and that you've persevered. And now you're really dedicated to making something of your life to then be able to reach out to maybe those youth that were going through similar struggles as you, or just people in general, and really use your music as a message, to talk about some of the most important stuff in the world. So without further ado, man, I wanted to just start off by asking, man, like, what actually made you get TechnoTutor? Like, when we first chatted, like, what made you want to get it?
Sure, man. That, by the way, that was a great introduction, right?
You made it.
Seriously, like, what made me get TechnoTutor was everything that you just mentioned, because I knew that if I got TechnoTutor, I could achieve #1 on the charts. That occurred because I got TechnoTutor. I put into TechnoTutor, #1, and it happened. When I spoke to Seth, probably 2 or 3 months ago, when I was introduced to him into the mastermind group, that's how I met you. You reached out to me and you said, "How do you like the group so far?" And I had briefly touched upon TechnoTutor with Seth, actually during your wedding.
Oh, no.
He's like, yeah, my buddy Mitch is getting married. I'm like, oh man. So he reached out to me and we spoke the day before your wedding and the day after your wedding, right?
Oh, nice.
And we were talking about TechnoTutor, and what he was saying to me actually made a lot of sense when it comes to just programming, DNA vibration. And I knew and I felt that there's a way that I can get better. So when him and I were talking about TechnoTutor, I was like, what is that? Right? Like, what does that mean? And you made me watch one of your videos on your YouTube, Johnson O'Connor. I was like, oh man, so no wonder when you're watching television programming, you're easily hypnotized because of the technology it uses.
Uh-huh.
So I realized, oh man, TechnoTutor uses that same technology. Then I can easily program myself because I want to achieve the highest level. And the only way I can do that is by using TechnoTutor. And I saw that right when I spoke to Seth about it. So when you told me to get TechnoTutor like now, right, we had that conversation. I was like, you're right, bro. Like, I got to get it now. Like, I can't just like wait. No, I got to get it right now. Like the day that you and I first spoke was the day I got TechnoTutor, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah.
Well, and I mean, I find that fascinating, man, because one, just that you're already kind of aware of a lot of the stuff like programming. Like, I don't know how much the average person is aware of programming, except for they're probably like, I need to watch my TV programming, but actually what is that doing to the brain and to the mind? So it's cool that you see that, right? And like the different things they use in the media, like the high-speed imagery, things like that. Yeah, TechnoTutor is working kind of with a similar mechanism, but to actually help you learn whatever you want. Now, I'm curious, when we chatted, what got you to have that realization of like doing it now? Because I remember you said you had a real estate deal that was going to close in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something. And I'm like, yo, that's cool. And you should definitely close that real estate deal. But I also I could hear it in your voice, like you were ready for more. But what was that like for you to actually just make that decision?
Man, throughout my whole life, I've always been a high achiever, right? And I've always been programmed to be number one, right? I'm the first son, grandson, first child, first of everything. So whenever I see an opportunity that makes sense to me, I have to do it right away. That's why when I heard about TechnoTutor, like I knew about like the television programming puts you in an alpha state. That's why their masses are easily controlled. And what really exacerbated this was the whole COVIDs, right? Right. I could see it. So I'm like, man, if people are so brainwashed by the television programming and they'll believe anything, that means I can program myself for success because I can see how I've been programmed. Right? I can see my deficiencies in my own programming, and I knew that I had to do something about it. Wow. And when we spoke about TechnoTutor, I wasn't going to get any better in 2 to 3 weeks of not having TechnoTutor. That's why I had to get it right away.
I'm glad you saw that, man. That's amazing. So then I think just a little bit about your history would be really great so that people can see like you weren't just programmed for success from day one and this stuff comes easily to you. Like, you mind sharing a little bit about the ups and downs in your journey that kind of got you to here?
Sure, absolutely. So let me start off by saying my parents had me when they were 18. So when I was conceived, there was already some drama right there, right? My mom's family and my dad's family, there's a lot of drama already. And growing up, I can see that there was conflict within me. I can feel it, where I was taught this, being pulled the other direction by a certain family. So I knew there was something that I had to fix within myself. And I struggled with substance abuse challenges. And I realized that the reason I struggled with substances, where I got a .23 DUI when I was 19, hit and run. I had to do 200 hours of community service in 2015 when I was 20. When everybody was partying in college, I was doing community service, 200 hours worth, because I got a .23 DUI. And I had to look at that, why I got that DUI. Well, I was going through a breakup at that time, and it felt like the world was collapsing, where it's like, right, all of my childhood fears, no one loves me. It was just being validated. I'm unlovable, no one loves me, or she just left me, nothing's worth living for. Let me just drink 17 shots of Captain Morgan in an hour. And I was an idiot, drank and drive, and hit someone when I was 19 and had to do 200 hours of community service. So by looking at that, I knew that I had a side of me that had to be fixed. Yeah. And when I stopped drinking alcohol in 2017, I switched to heavy cannabis use. And when I got TechnoTutor, I noticed that I was just substituting the emotional instability within me with substances and not going to the root of the problem, which is the emotional instability. I didn't have the proper tools growing up to process my emotions, the suppression of emotions. So I use substances to fill that void and to mask everything instead of confronting it. And that's the beauty of TechnoTutor. I've confronted myself, and that's what has allowed me to grow, to achieve the success in my music thus far, being #1 on the college radio charts, having an album that debuted in June, to be on syndicated radio, iHeartRadio. And all of that has been attributed to my emotional stability more and more every day, where I'm able to handle all of that. And I'm able to just think better, think straight, be on the right path, not be strayed away by temptation, but to just be on the straight and narrow path, to be more focused.
That's awesome, man. I love seeing that. And like, what, you're maybe 2 months in of actually using the tools and everything. I know too, we spoke a little bit about D.I.P, which is kind of, it's a good addition to when you're using TechnoTutor. There's a course called D.I.P. I swear by the thing. I mean, I went to university for 4 years, got my degree in psychology, And that free course online, DIP Lite, taught me more about psychology. Now, granted, the DIP was nowhere near as effective as TechnoTutor from my experience, but doing them both works really well. So what have you noticed within that too, of like any main realizations or insights you've had on like kind of how you can sort of where you need to focus to change yourself?
Sure. So DIP has helped me so much because a lot of the repetitive thoughts that were ruminating in my head, like the back chatter,
Mhm.
I was just thinking about what age is that voice? Like what age is the voice I'm talking to myself in? Right? Like, is that my voice now, or is that a voice from when I was a child that's just looking to get out?
Mhm.
So I realized a lot of my thoughts was from past versions of myself that don't serve me now, but they just had to be expressed. Whereas when I was growing up, um, right, you don't cry, right? You just suck it up,
Yeah.
right? And you're like, oh man, right? Hey man, but even the thugs gotta cry a little bit too, So I had to write it out through DIP. And when I was when I've been using TechnoTutor and writing with DIP, I've noticed that I've been crying a lot,
Mm.
and it's a self-forgiveness to my younger self because I felt like I was out of control. I didn't have control, right? Parents, they're telling you do this, mom's yelling, you're so effed up, why can't you be like this, right? My love to you is based upon your performance, right? If you perform, you get love. If not, you get yelled at. So intrinsically, right, I know that we all have self-worth.
Mhm.
But for myself, I wasn't resonating that because of what happened when I was a kid. Of how could I love myself? How could I be worthy if my own mother, I don't feel like she loves me? If she's always yelling at me, why would I feel worthy of love if my own mother's saying all these things to me? Oh, you're lazy. Oh, you little piece of shit, right? Like expletives, like hurling them, right? And by using DIP and TechnoTutor, I've just realized that she didn't have the proper tools to support herself from her childhood. Well, how could she help me? How could she help support me if she didn't have the tools? And that's been key, the self-forgiveness, DIP. I totally swear by it too, right? TechnoTutor and DIPs, it works hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. And to be the most effective, efficient person you can be.
Heck yeah, totally agree with that. Now, in terms of right, so that's kind of how you've got here. Clearly, you're moving yourself every day. I mean, it's awesome to see. Just I see you on these calls and you're like taking notes and you're participating and just leveling up, obviously, like right in front of my eyes. You know, we chatted the other weekend and within like 4 days, you had taken action on everything that we spoke about. And then you're at the next level. And so where's this all headed, man? Like what drives you and where do you see yourself being in the next 6 months, 6 years? Like talk to us about the future.
Sure. So I started making music when I was 18, started performing when I was in college. I was 18. I recorded my first album when I was 19, and now I'm 26. And I learned from my great grandfather the healing that a garden can provide a person. He was a World War II veteran, a prisoner of war, survived the Bataan Death March, survived the Death March. Like what? What? His
Wow.
name, the Death March. How did you survive that? And that's who I grew up with. So I would just see my great grandfather just sitting outside in the garden, no phone, nothing, just sitting out there for hours. Right? Like, what was he doing out there? So I started doing the same thing where, gardening, I was just thinking about my life, and I was just thinking about what I want to accomplish in life. And me making music, I noticed that a lot of people will listen to musicians, right? Athletes, people of influence, whatever they think is cool. And being a hip hop artist, being an MC, I see how the values and just the overall sport of rap music has degraded over the years because of the content the quality of the music is not of the highest caliber as it once was, where a lot of people think of rap music and they're not thinking of it in the right way, the way that it was meant to. You know, hip hop is a culture, it's a movement, it's a way of being. Whereas now it's mumble rap where you're not really able to understand. So I realized I can reverse engineer it to bring hip hop back to the basics of, you know, as an MC, you're here to educate the youth. That's the key. You're here to educate a future generation. And a lot of rappers today are just more in it for the vanity, whatever, you know, the glitz and the glamour. And where I see myself is changing the system, the music industry, where it's not all about what rap music is perceived to be. The glitz, the glamour, the fancy cars, all the women, the drugs, right? What if I can change the system so that I'm influencing a younger generation to be able to use TechnoTutor and D.I.P to support themselves so they don't use the substances that I use, where it's cool to promote drugs, women. What if I can promote emotional stability, TechnoTutor, D.I.P, taking on more responsibility, getting into a relationships, how much more powerful that would be and how much more empowered the youth would be to take suit of what's right so that they don't drink and drive like I did, right? You hear a lot of the music nowadays, it's, you know, drinking lean, you know, hustling, shooting people, killing people, and right, the survival pressure. That's what's cool. All right. It doesn't have to be that way though. That's where I step in and like, hey guys, listen, my music is tuned to the God frequency, right? The people who listen to rap music don't know that they're being mind controlled from the 440 hertz that the Rockefeller instituted in the 60s. They don't know that they're listening to music that's tuned to the most unnatural frequency, which is why they feel a lot of anxiety and angst. Right? If I can promote emotional stability with the proper tools, then I could be a major influence for the most positive change. That's how I can change the system, where a lot of people in the rap industry, right, they sell their souls, right? Yeah. They sell their souls for the money, and they do whatever they need to do just for that fame, right? That's what the record industries are there for. They're pimping out these rappers. They're just using them.
Yeah. And imagine, right? Imagine being some, you know, some famous rapper right now, and then trying to speak out and at least question like the mandates or some of these, you know, things that are happening. You can't, right? Or you do, and then you get some articles written about you, how, you know, they got like blackmail on you or something. So it's so corrupt on the inside. And that's what's so awesome about TechnoTutor, self-perfected, you know, this movement that we have is we don't have to go inside and play by those rules because we have our own economy and our own network. We know how that stuff works. So we're basically going to take the good stuff, like the fact that, you know, most people have a radio, right? Or most people have access to the internet and we can, you know, stream the music, but then we don't also have to go and play by all those just like messed up behaviors. And then we can, you know, have yourself and then have a bunch of other people make a whole new line of music. And then guess what? Now you got a distribution channel and you got other people that can then play it at, let's say we own a sports stadium. We can now play your music at our sporting events, right? Or we have concerts, we have events. It's like, I would much rather play your music. So yeah, that's the bigger vision that I see too. And we've been waiting for people like you that want to get big in the celebrity area. We have a few, but I mean, you clearly have track record. So yeah.
Yeah, man. Everything you just said, right? Like the more and more I gain influence and the more and more that's why the RIAA, Recording Industry Association of America certifications are so important to me, because when people see that you're a platinum artist, they'll take you more seriously.
Yeah.
If I want to have this influence and change the system, I have to attain that for the influence, right? To become someone that people listen to. Because I'll tell you, people's music played in arenas, it's part of a pool. You have to like register for a publishing rights organization, and your music will be chosen in a pool. So they're not just going to play some SoundCloud rapper in the stadium. So I figured out, oh man, I have to do everything that the record industry management would do. I have to do that for myself, so that I'm thinking like how a record industry associate would think, someone who owns a label. That's why I created my own label. And the record industry, they sign people, they don't develop them. And there's not really a lot of money to be made in streaming. Like Spotify pays 0.00483 per stream. Apple Music 0.00738 per stream. Or Spotify's 0.0043, 438, around there, right? Anyways, it's just less than a penny per stream. That's why now, if I could help artists who want to, be a musician, be like, hey man, you could sell NFTs for your music. You don't have to use a record company, right? You want to own all of your masters and your publishing. That's where the money's at right there, right? Streaming services, you need a lot of streams. Like you need to have these RIAA certifications to make something. For instance, if I was a gold artist, I wouldn't even make $1 million through streaming, through Spotify, right? Is that real wealth right there? You're making like $483K if you're a gold artist or a platinum artist, less than $1 million, right? So there are different ways to actually make money in music that people don't know of. They just think of the outdated system of, oh, you get signed and then you're big time. No, it doesn't work that way. You got to pay back all of that stuff. It's a cash advance, right?
Yeah. Well, and what's genius about the way that you're approaching this, so like within TechnoTutor, we don't talk about it as publicly, but there's a business component to it as well. And then you can be like a level of a distributor. And so you being one of the newest area distributors, you can also, right, use that as another source of income, as well as a network, because you're going to have basically the most advanced network now in Silicon Valley, San Jose area. And it's over the next, 3, 5, 10 years, what that's going to morph into, plus the music, right? Plus the celebrity status, plus all the other people who come in, that that is something worthwhile to really look at. And for anyone watching, don't just watch, don't just be a spectator, actually participate, because everyone has something they can bring to the table,
Right. But I figured out the only way for me to attain all of this is by using TechnoTutor and D.I.P and having the support of the groups. That's the only way that I can attain this level of success.
What makes you say, for someone who doesn't really understand that, what makes you say that?
Sure. I can only speak from personal experience for me. I mentioned that I like to garden, right? I love gardening, right? Gardening and listening to reggae music, right? I look at it like TechnoTutor and D.I.P is the daily effort needed to grow. It's the watering of the plants, because consistent use of TechnoTutor and D.I.P and joining the calls and talking to like-minded people like yourself, that is what really allows one to grow and to become more successful and to take on more responsibility, because they'll have the proper tools to be able to support themselves and to get their selves correct, their emotional stability. And I mentioned the reason I use substances is because I was emotionally unstable, and that's true. So, and that's the key to everything. It's the proper tools. I wouldn't use a shovel to go pick an orange that's high up in the tree. I need the right tool for that. I need a fruit picker. I not a shovel. I can't even reach it. So that's how I think about TechnoTutor, D.I.P, and the mastermind groups that I'm a part of, and that I need it. It's like water every day. That's the consistent effort. It's not like a magic tool where, you use TechnoTutor once and then you're a billionaire. It doesn't work like that, right? Oh, no, I just wrote D.I.P. I wrote one self-forgiveness. I'm good. No, right? It's that constant, consistent effort every day that's just congruent with who we are as people, because that's what's going to catapult me to success. The day in and day out effort. I haven't missed a day of TechnoTutor, and I won't. And of writing, I won't, because it's that important. It's like water. I need it to live. I need it to live. I realized before I used that, I thought I knew a lot, right? I didn't know anything. I still don't know anything, right? You sent me those videos about Bernard. I was playing basketball. I'm like, what is he talking about? You know, perhaps I can speak like him too, right? I think his voice is so distinct. I was like, oh, look, everything's going in. What is he saying?
That's awesome. Yeah. A big point too, I just want to emphasize here is that when you like by you having that daily discipline, one, because you have the discipline, but two, because of what those tools allow you to do, you're basically taking apart your mind, why you believe the things you do, what words you understand, like who you think you are. You're taking it apart, you're examining it, and then you're letting go of the stuff that's not serving you. You're keeping the good stuff, making it more efficient and optimized, and then you also be able to add new stuff, right? So you're doing that every day. That then becomes the framework and the foundation. So as you get up higher and higher and higher, and then now you got other rappers calling you out, right? You got more spotlight on you, right? People, all sorts of shit will happen, right? When you're standing up and you're actually standing for something real, the system will push back. It doesn't mean it has to get out of hand or anything, but it's because you have that daily discipline. I noticed this for myself, right? It's like I started making a lot of money. I got very tempted to go spend that money on stupid things, but because I have the tools, I can keep myself in check every day, right? Or it's like there's so much opportunity in ways where you can sabotage yourself. But
Yes.
because you have that discipline and you have the support network, right? Because that is world class as well. That then becomes that stable foundation. So you can literally handle whatever level we get to, and you can trust yourself. Like when you're about to sign that deal, you're about to go meet with that person, you know within yourself, you don't even have to think about it. You're like, yo, I trust myself. I'm living the principles. This is what I do. So, yeah.
Right. It's really that trust I notice about myself. Like before, I noticed where the hesitation would be, right? And it would come from that doubt from when I was a kid of, will I get in trouble if I do this? Maybe I shouldn't do it, right? If I do it, maybe my mom will yell at me. So I'm just going to play it safe, right? And I've had to confront that in my own mind, where now that I make music at a higher level than I once did, I'm able to properly express myself to make better music, where the lyrics are more meaningful. It has more power to it. The way I speak, it's more powerful when I rap now. Like my music is overall better because of these tools, because I can put what I'm thinking, really thinking, onto paper more efficiently. That's the power of D.I.P. I noticed. Oh man, I'm able to actually articulate what I'm feeling into my music. Like I'm able to properly put it in 16 bars with a hook, another verse. I'm actually able to fit it all in there. So the music has a more concise, simplified message than it once did. And it's funny, when I listen to Classic OG, my album, I'm like, that's an outdated version of myself. I didn't have TT or D.I.P. I wasn't part of these groups. I haven't met you yet when I recorded that album. And I thought I was getting somewhere, right? I thought I was like, now I'm able to become an RIAA certified gold artist because my music is so good and it's tuned to this frequency. But now I realize I wouldn't have been able to handle all of that. It would have happened too fast. I still would have been emotionally unstable. It would have been like on shaky ground. But with TechnoTutor, D.I.P, and again, world-class support from people like yourself, that is what's been helping me build a solid foundation where now I have the proper roots so I can build a tree. Like you can't just take it out of the ground. Like, right? It's actually a tree now. It's solidified, it's solid. Like my foundation is solid now. So I'm able to take on more responsibility.
That's awesome, man. Well, just one other question I want to ask you. I'm very curious your take on this is, what would you say to someone who says, hey, I'm already reading books. I'm already learning. Like I'm already, studying stuff. I'm good. I don't think I need TechnoTutor. I don't think I need this D.I.P thing. Like I'm just going to keep doing this. What would you say to someone like that?
if you haven't put it into your TT, you haven't learned it. It's so true, right? If you haven't put it into your TT, you haven't learned it, right? I've been listening to, for instance, Your Wish Is Your Command. I listened to that like hundreds of times, right? I was like, oh, you know, I just memorized it because that's what I learned in school, just to memorize. It didn't actually resonate, right? I'm like, all these books, oh, great, I read it, right, multiple times, but I just memorized it. I didn't actually integrate it into my structural resonance. I didn't integrate it, right? I didn't ingrain it into my DNA. I was just memorizing it. That's what the school system is good at. The education system is good at having people memorize a bunch of stuff, but not actually learning it. So if you haven't put it into your TT, you haven't learned it. That's what I would say to someone.
It's brilliant. Yeah, it's a very big difference between reading Rich Dad Poor Dad and actually becoming the rich dad. You know, and that's really what TechnoTutor does. Is it really guarantees that process as long as you're consistent with it. So awesome, man. You got anything else you want to share in terms of this interview?
Sure. Yeah, man. I would just like to thank you specifically, right? And hey, shout out to Seth.
Yeah.
Shout out to Seth.
Yeah.
That's the guy right there. Shout out to Seth. Right? During your wedding, he's like, hey man, I gotta talk to this JJ Finesser guy, right? I'm like, man, you're at a wedding, right? But so I'm appreciative that Seth took the time to meet with me because of him, I met you, right? And by being part of those groups, I'm able to grow, right? Before that, I didn't talk to anyone. I was very reclusive. And I should also mention, like, I was homeless for 3 months in 2018. My parents were like, oh man, your outbursts of anger, it's because you use synthetic cannabis. That's why you got to go to a sober living environment because you're angry all the time and your outbursts. Sober living environment, right? And I was living in my car for 3 months and all of that stuff. But now, like, I was just emotionally unstable. I just didn't have the right tools. That's why I used all the substances. It was like, yeah, I didn't know about TT. I didn't know about D.I.P. There was no way that I could have been stable without those tools. No way. No amount of books, no sober living environment, no therapy would have helped me. None. The only thing that works is TechnoTutor, D.I.P, and the groups. It's the only thing that works. No therapy, no psychiatrist, nothing, no rehab. That's why people relapse, because that stuff goes to the surface level, right? TechnoTutor, D.I.P, and you go to the actual root cause of it. You confront your own bullshit because that's how to actually fix the problem, not any of these surface level things, right? And to everybody out there that's struggling with substance abuse, right, alcohol abuse, like I never thought that I could stop drinking alcohol or smoking weed. I never thought that I could. I always thought that it was going to be a part of my daily life because I needed it to get by day to day, to feel calm and stable. But now I'm alcohol free, 4 years now. I haven't smoked cannabis in a year or so, right? And I realized I don't need any of that anymore because I was just covering up how I really felt about myself. I was bullshitting myself, right? I had to call out my own bullshit and bring it out. And that's what all these tools are used for. And that's how I know that I've changed, because I'm able to call myself out on my bullshit instead of running from the smoke. It's like a boxer in the corner. You punch yourself out or else you get knocked out. You got to punch yourself out of the corner. And with the support of this group, I'm thankful that I've connected with people who have the same ambition as I do of changing the system and making a difference. Because we only have one life here, right? And I thought about, man, it would be such a shame if I didn't make a difference to promote change, because I know I can. How wasted a life it would be if I didn't push myself to make a change in something that I believe in. And when it comes to TechnoTutor and these tools, these are life-changing tools where if people actually use it, all of the rehab centers, all of that therapy, they would go extinct. They wouldn't exist anymore. they wouldn't, right? They would make no money from that.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why TechnoTutor, right? In the stadiums. Oh man, a TechnoTutor Coliseum. Oh man, that'll be so great. Yeah. Right. And all the kids would be like, oh, look at JJ Finesser. How did he do all of that? And I would just TechnoTutor, D.I.P, connecting with like-minded people. And what I'm focusing on right now, maybe it's time to actually like put in an effort and to stop being scared of a relationship. Mm-hmm. I know we're talking about that, you know, you and your lovely wife are married, and you've always attested to how important a relationship is to a man to help them grow and achieve a level of success. And that's something that I'm confronting right now as we're doing this interview. That's something to all the listeners out there. That's something I'm confronting. I'm not perfect, right? Mm-hmm. I still have to walk through my own bullshit of why I've been single for 7 years. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. I don't think
with the tools, I'm able to do that now.
Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to like 3-6 months from now. I mean, shit, even 3 weeks from now. But like really, like in the next few, you know, weeks and months to see what you do, because you get it. You just get it. You got it faster than even I did. And I move very fast, but this is going to be very fun to see. So keep it up, man. Any final point?
Yeah, man. Mitch, personally speaking to you, man, thank you. You've been a godsend to me and to my family, and they really appreciate the help that you've provided. And man, we would love to meet in person one of these days, right? Perhaps after the COVIDs, if it ever ends.
Yeah, if it ever ends, right?
If it ever ends, maybe after 2025, after the genocide is complete.
That'll be the next interview. We'll deep dive into that topic. Yeah, yeah, man. We'll definitely meet in person, I'm sure, many times. And yeah, the community's real. I mean, you see it. We're real people. We got nothing to hide. We're genuinely here to educate people, help them change, and then change the system. It's in plain sight. Yeah. So, you know, our offer is for people to join us, right? And at the very least, just connect. So I'll put in the description of this video, I'll make sure there's a link to you and to your music, as well as to my Facebook or some way where for those who want to connect, right, you can reach out and we'll have a conversation. We'll share some stuff that's worked with us, chat about, you know, your situation, and then help everyone, you know, rise up. It's what we need. Right, the world needs more of that. So, thanks, Jalen. Appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you, Mitch. Thank you.
All right, cool. Thanks for listening, everyone. Stay tuned. Peace.
Yeah, I'm just out here living life, having a great time, kicking these great rhymes. Man, I'm so divine. The highest consciousness, thought, emotion be intertwined. Excavate gold mines, self-AP so sky high in my optimist prime time. The omnipotent.